I just posted.
We are live now. Yes, we are live. Hello, everybody. Good evening or morning. My name is Karen Lynn. This is Cosplay Talk. And tonight we have a very, very special guest. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Michelle D'Antonio, but I go by Missyeru online. Hello, everyone. And I'm wearing Oswald ears.
Going to Disney.
I'm going to Disneyland right after this. So. Oh no, you broke up. You're frozen. It's the best face ever. I'm screenshotting this. I don't know what to do. It's frozen. Hello, computer. Can you hear me? Uh-oh, this isn't good. I don't know what's happening right now. It's not. Okay, hi guys. I don't know if you can hear me. I hope you guys can hear me. Anyway, I'm Michelle. Going to Disneyland later today. I cosplay. I think the cosplay chat is resetting. I think Karen is resetting. She'll be back shortly. I'm like really awkward right now. I don't even see anyone talking in chat. Like I'm not sure what's happening right now. But it's okay. Waiting for people to join. I'm playing League a lot lately, a lot of ARAM. We're playing Ocarina of Time. It's been great. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing right now. Oh, okay. So you guys can hear and see me. I'm sorry. So I got into cosplay when I was 14, and I went to my first anime convention at ASIN in Chicago, which I cosplayed with my best friend as Kagome from Inuyasha, and she cosplayed as Inuyasha. And we met Scott McNeil, the voice of Koga, and it was the most magical, beautiful experience in like my whole life. It was amazing, and I didn't really know how to sew then, and so we went to like the thrift stores and we modified clothing to make my costumes, and then my mom knew how to sew, and we thought our costumes were really cool. And then we got to the convention and we're like, oh my gosh, people like really know how to make really good costumes. So I wanted to learn to sew, and my mom taught me. And the next year I went to ASIN again as Kagome in like a better upgraded version of the first version. And then I wore her the third year in a row, but then I finally had her bow and her backpack and like a ship bow. And I became like super addicted to cosplay. And then I decided I wanted to make all of my favorite characters, not just Kagome. So that's how that started. And I'm waiting for Karen to get back on, but she's sending me questions via like my messages. So I don't know why I'm like so like all over the place. I think I've already mentioned before, but I'm going to Disneyland right after this, so I'm like super hyper. I'm really excited about that. That'll be really fun. And then I've actually been to Anime Central for 10 years in a row now, and it's been great. Hi, welcome back.
Hi, I'm so sorry. My computer have just decided to commit suicide, so that was fun.
It's okay. I took a screenshot of you. I have like the best screen cap of you. I'll send it to you after this.
Yeah.
It's like you're making a face like.
Yeah, because my computer was like, no, don't die. Okay, so I'm very, very sorry to everybody who's watching us. I hope Michelle kept you company. And I do hope my computer is not going to suicide again. Anyway, I do want to introduce what this is. This is Cosplay Talk. This is an initiative from the Israeli team to bring Israel to the World Cosplay Summit eventually. And this is a weekly, dual-weekly kind of a thing. And as we said, we have Michelle today with us. She's awesome, and she's going to Disney today. And I do assume you talked a little bit about how you got into cosplay?
I explained like my first con and my first costume, and I went with my best friend 2 years ago.
Okay. Okay. Why did you start cosplaying? What drove you to start doing that? Did Michelle just die now? Oh my God, what is going on with us today? I think Michelle just died. Like her computer probably just froze. Wow, I'm so sorry about tonight, guys. However, if you do have questions, you are welcome to send them to us. In the meantime, you can either comment on YouTube or on Hangout. I see we already have a question, which we will answer as soon as Michelle will come back. Yeah, wow, tonight is just not our night at all. Yeah, we're gonna wait for Michelle. Okay, she's back. You're back.
Sorry. I was like, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my computer just like went black for a second, and I was like, no, stop that. Okay.
That's just not our day.
No, technology is like F you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. Like,
okay.
So like, it wasn't loading any pages. I just had to go through my history, and I was like, blah. All right. Anyway.
Maybe it's just like overwhelmed by the internet.
Right. We broke the internet.
But yeah. How did you get into cosplay?
I got.
Why? I'm sorry.
Why? It was kind of, I guess, an accident. I didn't really know what cosplay was. I was a part of the anime club in my high school, and not my best friend, but my friend Kim, her sister was like the biggest of anime nerds, like super otaku status, right? Like she was like, me and my friends were like, we want to be like her. She's so cool. She was like in her 20s, and like her whole room was all anime. And she told us about anime conventions, and we're like, oh, what? There's like this whole convention of where people like us go to. And she's like, oh yeah, but she's like, but you have to dress in costume. And so we didn't know there was any way to not. Maybe. So we just like wore our favorite characters, and then we realized that like you could go normal clothing, but it was like way better and more fun to go as your favorite like character. So that's what we did, and it was awesome. And then we were like, this is the best thing ever, because instantly like you make friends, like someone who likes the same fandom as you, as like what you're wearing, they'll come up to you and then you spark a conversation, and then you become friends, and then you like, well, at least we did. We would exchange contact information in the early days, and then just kept in contact, and like it was great. And so me and my best friend were like, let's just keep doing this. This is fun. And then we realized like the whole cosplay world. We're like, oh, okay, it's a thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the favorite part for you in the process?
The favorite part of like making, I don't know. So like there's so many like parts that I'm like in love with. Like I love making, like I love sewing the garment. Like I love completely like figuring out the design and making like the impossible, like some 2D art turned into my 3D sewing. So that's really satisfying to me, is just like the sewing and putting it on and like, it fits. And then I think one of the best parts ever too is I'm the worst at doing full like dress rehearsals, I guess, like trying everything on with hair and makeup and everything done. So usually like the day I wear my costume for the first time is the first time I've ever experienced all of it together. And so it's really cool to see the transformation complete, you know? So to see, okay, my sewing, my hair, my makeup, it all ties together to make this new character. And it's like, yeah! And then, you know, I'm always like nervous for whatever reason. I don't know why, but even today, like I get nervous wearing my costume for the first time, because I'm always like, what if no one knows what character I am? And I know like it doesn't really matter, but it's also like really weird at a convention when like you go and no one's like, has like know it, like it's just like, and I'm like, but I'm my favorite character. Doesn't anyone else like this character? So that's always satisfying when someone comes up and like, oh my god, you're so and so, like you're so and so from this game, and I'm like, yay!
Magic.
Friendship.
And working on a costume, basically. What's your process? Like, how do you start? What are materials you usually use? Stuff like that.
Well, the materials I used really depends on like the costume I'm making, because I try to be as true to the art as possible. Like, I try to translate the art into if it was realistic. And so I just kind of go to the fabric store and I have like a picture of the character, and I like touch a bunch of fabrics and feel like the weight and like the heaviness. Like my favorite ones though, I like to use leather a lot, and fake leather and like fake suede. And I don't like using silks. Silks are a pain. But I also like using 4-way stretch spandex. Like if I could make everything out of spandex, my life would be complete. So I guess those are my favorite. But like I always do like a lot of research, and I usually like I pick my character, I do the research on the character, and then I go to the fabric stores and get swatches, and then buy what I think, or then I come home and I make the pattern. So I figure out how much I need, and then I make it. And then sometimes even after I get the fabric, it's not 100% sure I'm going to do the costume. But like once I buy the wig, it's like set in stone. I'm cosplaying this character.
Does it work the same way for you when you're doing armors or props?
Yeah, like pretty much the same. Like I make the pattern first out of like paper, and then I put it to foam or Worbla or whatever material I'm using for the armor. And with props, like I feel like I'm the worst at props. So I always like second guess myself. But my friend Ben, he was actually on like the League of Legends all chat, like for the first and only episode I think. He taught me how to make big props. So whenever I like freak out, I'm like, how do I make this? I always like call him or text him and be like, how? What am I doing? So that's pretty okay, I guess. But I always like try to challenge myself with using like props that I don't know how to make, so I can learn how to make them. So maybe I'm a masochist and like hurt myself and be miserable making props. I don't know.
Okay. We have a few questions that I want to get to. We have a question from Christina. She asked, "How did you make Vi gunflits?"
Oh my gosh, those Vi guns are so insane. So I patterned it out on paper, and I personally use like sheet metal, and then I had a friend at the time help me cut out the sheet metal. to like a hand base and like the finger base, and then we added the hinges between each of it, and then these little like loop-de-loop screws that we like screwed in. And then I was so scared they would unscrew, so I glued the screws. After like we screwed them, I like glued them, and then we put wire through it, and I got like workout gloves that I sewed keychains or just like these little rings for my fingers. And so I put my hand in a glove, and I attached the glove to like the sheet metal. So when I moved a finger, like the joints of the fingers moved, and then I covered all of it with foam. So no one ever sees like the real metal. And then I painted the foam to look like metal, which I think is really funny. But they're pretty light, and they come apart in two parts, like the hand and like the arm part are two separate parts, because I travel with that costume a lot, so I need to make it as breakdownable as possible.
When you start working on a new cosplay, you first think about how you're gonna make it work travel-wise, or do you make a costume and then you're like, okay, how is this gonna work?
I used to do the second. I used to just make it and be like, I'll figure it out. And then then I realized this is the worst. And what really broke my heart is I went across the country to PAX with my Ash, and like I didn't make my bow collapsible, so I had to like make a custom box that I went to Home Depot, and I like begged them. I was like, can I have this box from your dumpster? And like make that box, because it was a really long bow, and then I had to like check that box into the airport, but it was like an oversized box, and so they're like, oh, this costs $75, and I was like, no. So it was like $75 each way for a bow that cost less than like $150 to, you know what I mean? And I was like, I spent more traveling with this stupid thing than it took for me to like ship it to the convention. And then on the way back, TSA checked it, and they didn't pack it properly, so it broke anyway. So they're like, it snapped in half because I put it in, and then I put like the peanuts around it and like wrapped it, and they just like pulled it out and tried shoving it in. And so it's like, that's not how you're supposed to handle a bow. So now I'm like, everything that can come apart, I need it to come apart, and then I'm just gonna put it like in pieces in my suitcase. So now I think I'm like, even if I'm not planning on traveling with the costume, I try to make it travelable so I can potentially bring it to a different convention, because that just like was the worst experience, like opening the box and having a broken bow. I was so sad.
I do remember that when you were, I don't remember which costume it was that you made out of, totally out of foam, and you got to the convention, it was all cringy, the paint.
Oh,
how
that was
how,
on my.
how,
That
do you,
was like,
how do you handle a situation like that?
well, that was like when I went to Korea for Worlds. I like, and everyone like gave me a hard time because they're like, oh, it broke because you didn't use a hard suitcase. But like the green suitcase in the photo is the suitcase I travel with Vi, and like Vi had been to Europe, and she had been all over America and to like Argentina. So I'm like, I know that's not the suitcase. The suitcase isn't the problem. What ended up happening, like the whole inside was completely shattered. Like I feel like it like fell, and then someone like ran my suitcase over because everything was squished. Everything was ruined, and then I bawled my eyes out. Like I don't think I cried so hard for a costume in my life. And then we looked online, and if you steam foam, it gets rid of the wrinkles. And so like the next day, like the day before Worlds, I just sat there and I steamed all my armor out, and like, and it just like unwrinkled. And then the problem with that though is it kills the shine of your paint because it makes it really muted. So I just went to the store and I bought metallic paint, but metallic paint that in America is usually like $5 was like $25 for the same tube in Korea, and I was like, no. But I was like, don't care, fixing costume, like.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
you
so
have crazy stories.
Well, it was like so crazy, and then like it's like I couldn't claim it to the airport because it's like, how am I gonna like claim the value of my foam armor that I spent like 95 hours on, and like because they like airports don't see that because like there's not a receipt for me buying it. It just was like really disheartening that it was like, oh man. And like I only have like 3 or 4 photos of that costume. I need to do like a formal shoot. I just get so sad. I mean, it's fine now. Like I completely fixed it. I just every time I see it, I just think of like this horrible experience I had on the airplane. But like the thing is with Elise is everything came apart. Like everything, I did my job. I packed it really well. It literally just looks like someone just like smashed it like over and over with like a huge rock. And then my friend too, his suitcase was ruined. So I don't think the Korean Airlines like take very good care of luggage. Oh yeah.
Oh, God. The airport just plays like, yeah, they just kill.
And I had fragile stickers, and I was like fragile and do not break and do not crash stickers all over my suitcase. So it was like, stop it. Like, don't do that. I think you froze on me again. Hello? Don't freeze. Oh yeah, you totally just died. No. Okay, so she just died. Her computer suicide again. Today is like not our technological day. And I'm blaming the Super Bowl because I don't like football, American football, so I'm blaming it on that. But if anyone's like watching this, I guess I can just keep rambling about fun things. My next projects, I like need to finish my coral ball for Winter Wonderland Oriana. She's basically done, but I'm kind of like probably not gonna wear it until next winter because I want photos like that. Like I want winter photos with Winter Wonderland Oriana. And then I worked on some really cool like secret projects. Like I did a really cool costume for Riot, but they haven't released it, like the thing I made for it, which is kind of sad because I'm like, I want to show the world this thing I made, which is kind of a bummer. I'm just like rambling now. Sorry guys, this is boring. What else? I usually like love talking about myself because I know.
I am so sorry. My computer just crashed again, so I just moved to another one.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, we have a few questions, like a lot of questions. So we're gonna ask a few. Let's see. What do you use for body paint for Soraka, for example?
I use the Ben Nye watercolors. It comes in like a palette like this, and you get it like wet with water, and you paint it, and then you can do a couple layers to make it as light or dark as you want. But it's just like if you paint it watercolor on canvas, and they have a sealing spray. So then I just sealed it, and then it didn't rub off. It was really easy. But as far as like my skin goes, like I only use the body paint on like my face and my neck because my legs and my arms I made like a pantyhose bodysuit. I went to welovecolors.com and I bought 2 pairs of tights, and I like wore like the tights for my legs, and I did the ombre and like the body paint on it. And then for my arms, I cut a hole in like the crotch area, and then I sewed fingers, and so I wore it like sleeves and wore it over my top half, so I didn't have to worry about like my fingers crusting, because that's the worst part about body paint is that like your knuckles start to like break. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. One moment. I'm just changing a username. In the meantime, what is the next cosplay you're planning to make?
I'm currently, hopefully in like 2 weeks I'll be done. I'm working on Scar from Lion King. I'm making like a gender bend girl version, very tribally version of Scar, which I'm super excited. It's been like, I'm obsessed with Disney, obviously, and well, I mean, obviously, and I love villains, and so I just like love Scar's villain song, even though he's not like, I think he's a horrible person because he kills Simba's dad. Hi, person behind you.
Yeah, continue. No, it's okay.
Oh, you're fine. That was really cool. You like spoke.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just not in my room, so family's computer.
That's okay. And I just like love his villain song. I think it's the best villain song in all of like the Disney movies. And I
Mhm.
listen to Disney music more than like actual music. So I kept hearing it and I was like, I just need to make this happen. So I designed like the original concept and hopefully it'll be done soon. And then I think my next lead character is probably gonna be Diana. It's like a it's not like not just me making it. So it's like a group project between me, Iron Stylist, and my friend Ben. So Ben made a lot of the armor raw, and I'm gonna paint it and finish it and make the bodysuit and her jacket, and then I'm gonna wear it. So it's like a fun little collaborative project.
The person also asked if you already finished Oriana.
Oriana's like 90% done. I like it's a really easy costume, but it's kind of like a frumpy design. Like, you know, like actually wearing it, I'm like, I don't feel pretty. I mean, I feel like okay, but it's not very like movable because her skirt's like crazy. And I haven't finished Poro, and I need to like shoot it if that makes sense. Like, it's really hard to like take photos of it in the costume. And oh yeah, I just have to finish Poro and like finish my like ball joints, and then it's done.
Okay. Let's do more questions. Boo, 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 boo. Okay. Ellie asks, it's weird to ask, but is there a cosplay you're less proud of? Like a cosplay you would like to redo?
Well, I redid Heartseeker Ash because I didn't like the first version of it. And then when I redid the second version, I still like wasn't in love with it. And so that's one that I'm kind of like meh on. And I'm also very like meh on I have like quite a few, like where I'm like, not my best. Like that I could add more to it, but it's almost like, well, there's so many other costumes I want to make. Will I go back? Maybe, I don't know. Like I'm very kind of like meh on Oriana, to be honest. Like I love every piece individual, and I think like it looks really good. I'm just like not completely crazy about it, and I don't know why. Like I want to love that costume, but I'm kind of like when I wear it, I'm just like, oh okay.
Okay.
And I have to like hold my hands like this because like the skirt, and I'm like, oh, like I just wish I loved it more. That sounds awful, but I
It's
don't know.
your
I guess
creation, I mean.
yeah, I feel like sometimes like the super simple ones, I like even though I feel like the sewing is really good on it and like the construction on Oriana is awesome. Like I'm really proud of it. Like I sewed the stripes for her tights and then I made this like I made everything from scratch and so but it's just so simple that it's kind of like no, there's no armor, there's nothing super exciting about it. Like I don't know, that sounds weird.
Okay, we do have somebody asks if you're coming to Gamescom this year.
Not that I know of. Like that's like my dream con. Traveling to Europe is really expensive, and Worlds just announced that they're having Worlds in Europe, so I'm saving up for that. So I don't know. I know I'm so excited.
So close to me.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like afford to go to Gamescom. Like in an ideal world, like a company would hire me to go out there, you know, and like kind of help with the cost and it like makes me so because I lived in Cologne for a hot minute last year, and Cologne's where Gamescom is, so it's like wow, I'm so close, and it's like the one convention I want to go to more than like Gamescom and DreamHack are like my top two cons that I want to go to, and then like third would probably be Japan Expo, and it's like everyone's always in comments like I want to go to an American con, and I'm like I want to go to your cons, like I just want to go back to Europe.
Yeah. Somebody else asks, Michelle, when you come to Argentina, I didn't have the opportunity to see you, but my friend did, and my Facebook was full of you, and well, it was really bad for me. I'm going to meet you one day, I know it. That's Cami Valoy.
Cami, yes, I love Argentina. I would love to. Oh my gosh, it was so great there. I would love to go back to South America. Like, you have such a pretty, unique, and awesome country. And I didn't get to tango, so I have to go back. I want to take a tango class in Argentina.
Yeah, do it. Tango.
So Cami, when we, I know, I love when I travel. I like to do like such stereotypical touristy things, but like I also like to like do whatever comes from that country, if that makes sense. Like when I was in Argentina, I wanted to tango. When I was in Ireland, I had to drink Guinness, like typical.
Okay, I do want to try and get away from the questions for a little bit, just talk a little bit more about cosplay and the hobby. How is it for you? Like when you go to a convention as a guest, not when a company hires you, but when you're invited as a guest, what do you usually do there? Run panels, judging, booths? Get us through this process for you.
Well, usually with a guest, like when a convention like invites you as a guest, like you have a contract with them, and so I always try to like bring as much as I can because I don't want to be a guest that isn't really contributing to the convention. So I always try to do like opening ceremonies, sometimes closing ceremonies. It depends on how big closing ceremonies are there. I always I run a couple panels. I do like how to pose in cosplay, like cosplay 101, like kind of basic panels, and then I do one because I work professionally in the film industry. So I've done one called like cosplay versus the film industry and how to break in, because a lot of people, that's like one of my #1 questions is how do I professionally work in the industry? And then another new question is I get all the time is like how to become a professional cosplayer. And so I tried a panel at a con I was a guest at last year called the Cosplay Industry, and it went really, really well. It was a completely full room, and so I like to do that panel. I love hosting the cosplay competition. Like, I think that's such a fun thing, and I like it when there's like pre-judging so that each contestant can have an opportunity to explain their work instead of like the 20 seconds on stage. And then I like to go to the after parties, and because usually there's like a dance at conventions, and I know a lot of guests don't like that, but I love just like mingling with people. And then sometimes, depends on the convention, they'll give me a table, and if I have a table, I usually just hang out there. And then just like, everybody come to my table and hang out with me. And sometimes I sell prints, sometimes I don't. I try to because I feel like whenever I don't bring them, people want me to bring them, and then I feel like a butt for not bringing them. I didn't bring them to Argentina, and I was like, oops.
How is it different when you work for a company, when a company basically brings you to a con?
Like when you're like a company ambassador, you're promoting the company and you're promoting the brand and you're promoting the game. But I don't sign with companies like because companies will reach out to you, and like unless I love their game or I believe, because sometimes it's games that haven't come out yet, and so I like to. This sounds like it's really like high maintenance, but I like to like talk to them like, can I play your game? Can I like make sure I like the game? Because I don't want to be at the convention and talk about your game if I don't actually like it. So for me to work for a company, I always 100% like believe in what I'm doing, and I like the character. I've never like cosplayed for a company that I didn't like their character or I didn't like their game or I didn't, if that makes sense. And so then you're usually at their booth and they give you, they have you like work their booth area, and then you can just kind of like hang out there, as opposed to like you usually don't do panels and you don't have your own booth like almost ever. Because I think it's like really rude if a company hires you and then you sell your prints for like, sometimes they want you to though. Like sometimes they'll be like, oh, we'll get photos, or we'll give you a photo shoot of the character, and then we want you to sell those photos at our booth. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's more usually like a chilled, laid back, I guess, because you're just with like one company as opposed to like everywhere at the convention. They're just like different, if that makes sense. But it's like both of them are really, really fun, and I love working with companies because it's also they usually bring you in and they show you things that aren't released to the public yet. So you're like, I can't wait until the world sees this.
That's awesome. And you do get to travel a lot. Where did you already had a chance to go?
Yeah, last year was like the year of traveling. I've been to Argentina, South Korea, Ireland twice, France twice, but Paris and Lyon, France, so not the same area. London, Germany, Belgium, and then all over America. So like it's amazing because like I actually don't have a lot of money. People all the time like think that like you must be rich, and that I really am not. I'm really a broke like girl who's trying to pay off all my student loans. And it's such like a really cool thing that like because of these opportunities I'm able to travel and I'm able to see like live my dreams and like do what I love and still get to do like cosplay, so I still get to like make my own costumes and have like a whole bunch of artistic freedom. Like I'm not just a model who's wearing costumes that someone else makes for me. Like I get to like the satisfaction of making costume, and then I get to travel, and then I get to like be social at these cool events. So it's like the best thing in the whole world, honestly.
What do you feel like is going to be next for you, either in the cosplay community wise or general? Like, what is the next step for you in this whole crazy life hobby thing?
Well, I'm always gonna keep making costumes. This year started off with like a lot of like personal issues, and so like I won't be able to pay for traveling a lot this year. So there's a lot of cons that I like. Like I would love to go to KatsuCon, and I just can't afford it. And I'm trying to like launch soon. I'll be like launching a jewelry line, but like a resale line. So I won't. These are items I didn't design, but I curate it. And all these actually, this is a piece of it, yay! For me to raise the money to be able to make my own designs, and then I want to get more into like selling my art, I guess, like selling like apparel and selling accessories and selling things like that, and kind of become my own boss. And eventually, I would like to start like a company and like not like because Yaga has her ears and her wings. I want to like make a new item that doesn't exist that can help like everybody. So working on that, but I'm also always working on like trying to get the next cool job. Like the last cool thing I worked on was I was working on Agent Carter, which was really fun. And so I've always wanted to work on like cool new movies in Hollywood, and so that's like my professional goals, and then my like cosplay goals.
You do wardrobe and props in movies?
No, I make costumes for them. So I like actually like and then I like do a lot of aging, and sometimes I do like weird things. Kind of like I'm like in the union for the industry, and it's like really funny because like a lot of the people who work on like superhero movies aren't nerds. Like when we were working on Agent Carter, they had a fitting for Stan Lee, and like only two of the people other than me like knew who Stan Lee was, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, Stan Lee's coming! Ah! And everyone was like one of my coworkers was like, who's this guy? Like, why are you freaking out? Is he like a famous actor? And I was like, he created Marvel! Oh, oh. I know, I was just like, oh, you're not a nerd.
What are you doing here? Get out the door.
But it's like interesting because like the film industry is not full of nerds. But I'm a nerd in the industry, and so I'm usually like I go into work, I wear like such sloppy clothes. I just wear like t-shirts and leggings or whatever, and I'm always wearing like Iron Man shirts or like all these, and so they're like, oh, you're not joking about being a nerd, and I was like, you guys have no idea. Like I eat, sleep, and breathe this shit.
Well, as long as you're having fun.
Yeah. And I'm
what is the biggest challenge for you, costume-wise? I mean, what's really hard for you?
I think props are the hardest thing for me. Like big props, like smaller, like if they're like this size, fine. But once I start getting to like my Leona shield, my Leona sword, I was so overwhelmed, and I had to have my friend Venzi. She helped me a little bit with like the circle part of the sword. And I don't know why, like I feel like I've made a lot of props, so I should be more comfortable with them, but I always, like every time I pick a big costume with big props, I'm always like, like armor's fine, I'm fine making armor, but making like the weapons are like, like I just like meltdown mode.
Is there something that you feel like you'll never do? Like cosplay wise, like most of the people say they will never like either cosplay or nudes, but I don't know, everybody have their own pet peeves.
I feel like I can never say never. Because like one of my dream costumes is Shiva from Final Fantasy X, and like if and when I ever cosplay her, that's gonna be like the most skin I've ever revealed, because she just wears like a bra, underwear, and like a side skirt. And she's blue, and she has long hair, I guess, that covers the whole backside. I just, like, it's not that I'm not confident with my body. I don't know. I want to wear it. I don't know if I ever will get around to making it. Does that make sense? Because it's just, like, it shows, like, a lot of skin. But I can't say never, because I love, like, blood war shoots. A lot of my friends outside of the cosplay world, like, have do like pinup photography and modeling and stuff, and that's really beautiful to me. So it's like that's something I could see myself definitely dabbling in, or doing like implied nudes. I don't think I'd ever do. I never would show like completely naked. I don't think ever. I don't know. I mean, good job for the people who do that. I don't think I could do like my parents follow my page and so it'd be like, hey mom, look at my boobies. Like that'd be weird.
Yep, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
No, no, not that way. Not what you. But yeah. What till today? What was your toughest project or hardest project that you've done so far?
I think Leona was probably like the absolute hardest, just because her props were so scary and overwhelming, and like her like headpieces are very delicate and just unique shapes. I think Vi also had a lot of challenges, but Vi had like I just well, because I was like slowly working on her, and then all of a sudden it was 4 days before the Anime Expo when I wanted to wear it, and so I like couldn't even think about messing up. I just had to like literally I pulled like 2 all-nighters, and I just busted Vi out in 4 days. So I feel like that one could have been harder if I like sat down and tried to analyze how to make it, and I literally like closed my eyes, drank like my caffeine, and like made the costume. I feel like yeah, probably Leona is one of the hardest ever. Just because it was so, oh my gosh, the props. Oh.
Yeah, Leona, like what is that?
But it was like a really satisfying costume, you know, like I loved like wearing it. I feel like such a badass and I would wear it. And it's actually really, really comfortable. It was like the first time, like everything's removable from the bodysuit. And so usually when I do bodysuits, I make things like permanently attached and then I have to like hand wash it. But like with Leona, I can actually take it off and throw the bodysuit in the laundry. And it's really quick and easy to put on because I was like, let's think about how to wear armor that just floats on your boobs and floats on your arms and floats on your waist.
Velcro, yeah.
I use a lot of Velcro, but like I'm pretty guilty at like last minute doing the hot glue thing, like gluing things onto things. And so I did a really good job of like I sewed the Velcro in, I sewed all these pieces, and then the belly where it's like gold, I like screen like I basically like screen pressed it like the gold part. So I'm like, yeah, I did good on that costume.
Good for you.
Yay.
Do you have any cosplay idols or people that you look up to and inspire you in this community?
These are I feel like typical people. Like I am always inspired by what Yaya's doing. She is like such an amazing seamstress, and she's just like she Yaya-fies everything. So she takes a design and then she adds her own very personal twist on it, and then she makes these wonderful, beautiful, intricate costumes. And I love seeing like I love.
Wait, you totally froze.
Oh, I like love her Heartseeker Ash. I love how she like the fabric she used. She added a bunch of like printed fabric, you know, and that's something that I know I'm hesitant of. And when I like her Heartseeker Ash inspired me to use printed fabric on my Lady Jace costume because I'm very like I usually stick to solids. Solids are safe, solid, you know, and like for whatever reason I like stray away from patterns, and I like love that she doesn't she always uses patterns on her costumes, and I was like that's so brilliant. Like, it looks so good. Like why am I such a weenie and just use solids? And so she's super inspiring. I think Jessica Negri is really inspiring because she does her own like her Pokemon costumes to me are like one of my favorites just because she just designs her own Pokemon and they look like awesome belly dancers and they're beautiful. Who else do I like absolutely like? I really look up to like Benzie in a weird way. Like we're friends, but like she is a professional prop maker, and so when she makes her costumes, there are like the most perfect costumes you'll ever see. And if there's even like the littlest dent that no one in their right mind will ever notice, she'll like redo that part. And so seeing her costumes, it's like your costumes are literally perfect. Like.
Yeah, stress. That is fun.
Yeah, it's great.
What do you feel like for you? What is your opinion about the community over the world? Like you've experienced a lot of the people and a lot of the community worldwide. What is the difference for you from place to place?
What I've noticed, well, mainly, because I'm Korean, so I don't really know, like my experience with them are a little different. American cosplayers, I feel like everyone knows each other and we're all kind of friends for the most part. I mean, every once in a while there's like two people who don't like each other, but everyone in like the American cosplay, Johnny earlier, and Johnny and like I are buddies. Like I could call him right now. And then like Lindsay is here with me. Like we all are really tight. We all like share secrets. We share not secrets, but like cosplay tips. It's a very open community. And I felt like in Europe, they correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like what I noticed is that they have like cosplay troops, not really necessarily troops, but people only hang out with like their friends, like their circle, instead of like a huge like countrywide thing. And then they kind of like don't necessarily not talk to each other. Then there's not like rivalries or anything, but I feel like there's not a huge sense of community like there
like
is.
cliques?
Yeah, it's more cliquey, I feel like, in Europe, but I feel like their cosplays are more like I feel like European cosplay is like better, if that makes sense. Like I just feel like the quality is just higher than the average American cosplayer. But I feel like there's way more cosplayers in America. Like a lot more people just very casually do it, very like go in the closet. And like, I love that. I love seeing people who are like, I like this hobby, but I don't want to like get obsessed with it like you are. Like I'm just gonna like casually make everything, and I'm like that's so cool to me. Like I understand that I'm like a bit more extreme. Like I'm obsessed with making everything from scratch and as perfect as possible. But I feel like the people who do cosplay, are like so amazing in Europe, and they so like more like isolated. Does that make like so? I don't see a lot of huge European group cosplays with people from all over Europe.
No, I think Europe is more country coded. I mean, every country have its own thing, but that's just because there's so many countries over Europe, and the community in every country is pretty big. So just.
But yeah, but it's a clicky into that country. So it's like if you like, I feel like they've like if there's a Swedish cosplayer, she like will know all the Swedish cosplayers, but they don't necessarily all hang out. Whereas like in America, like we'll do like huge Google hangouts and we'll all like work on cosplays with our computers up, and like people could be like someone could be in Canada, someone could be in Atlanta, someone could be in LA, and even though states are kind of like mini countries, I guess everyone like doesn't care. Like there's no like random like, oh, we're LA versus Atlanta cosplayers or the Arizona cosplayers. It just doesn't matter. We're all friends. And then I noticed like in Argentina, I feel like Argentina is harder to cosplay because they have the disadvantage of like the country doesn't let them mail things. Like the mailing system is different. Like I don't know about Israel, but like in America you can just order something and 2 days later it's gonna show up at your doorstep. But like in Argentina they get like 2 or 3 items per year that can order outside of Argentina. Like it's really kind of bizarre. Because one of the girls who I met, she was like, hey, I'm coming to this convention you're going to be at. Can I order things and mail it to you? And then when I see you, you bring them to me. And I was like, I mean, yeah, like that's fine. Because she can't, like when you go into Argentina, you can't mail things to you. You have to bring it in the country with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes absolute sense. In Israel here, you can mail thing. It's just going to be crazy expensive and it's going to take crazy forever to get here.
Yeah, like the mail system, like in America, and I feel like in a lot of Europe, you get mail Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday they have a day off. Except for now with Amazon Prime, we can get mail on Sunday, which is really crazy. I know, like I just got like something last Sunday, and I was like, oh my god. But like in Argentina, you can only get like 2 or 3 items a year, and then like, the government will like hold it, and your mail doesn't come to your house. You have to like go and pick it up. From what my understanding, I'm sorry if there's Argentinians like listening and they're like, you're wrong, but that's what like Lori was kind of explaining to me, and she like, but everyone down there seems really really nice, and so they have to use like different materials. Like, I don't know if there's a lot of like Warbla use down in Argentina, and then in South Korea, their thing is they use foam and they stretch like 4-way stretch metallic fabric, which was like crazy because it's like that's how shiny it is they just get foam and they cover it with fabric. It's not even painted.
A lot of people do it actually. I've seen a lot of tutorials actually. I think that started from Europe, but yeah, that's a very, very smart method.
Yeah, I've only done it once on my. Oh no, I did it on my Ash shoulder pads. I stretched the fabric over the foam, and then for my Sorceress Lux over my shoulder pads, I used the fabric. But I feel like in Asia, that's like a main way that they make armor, which is cool because it looks so amazing and so like smooth and fresh, and you don't see like bumps or anything because the fabric covers it. It's like god tier cosplay over in Asia.
Okay, so before we wrap it up, do you have any tips or advices for people who either want to do armor or props or just want to start with this crazy hobby and have no idea how to start?
I think that the best thing to do when you get into cosplay is do a lot of research and like don't be afraid to Google the dumbest questions ever. Like literally, if you don't want to do something, just be like how to make circle skirt costume pattern like in Google, and Google will have like a gazillion answers. Like the number one, because a lot of people send me messages in my inbox, and they're very simple answers, and I have no problem answering questions, like cosplay help questions, but a lot of them can be easily found on like the first response on Google, just to be like how to make insert item here, because cosplay is now becoming more widespread and more of a common thing that you can literally be like how to make Ash bow from League of Legends, and there will be like tutorials step by step for it, which is awesome. So that's using Google, and also like not being overwhelmed. Like if it's your first costume ever, don't choose like the most complicated costume you've ever made. Like choose something more simple and kind of get your feet wet and figure out like what medium you like better. Because some people like they think they like sewing more and they end up like making armor more, and so then they're gonna do a lot more armor cosplay, or they decide I actually hate making armor, so I'm gonna just sew everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like they're both beautiful like forms of art.
Okay.
I was like,
no, I was just like, I was disconnected for a moment.
You're like, oh, I was like, you're just like staring like blankly at me.
I'm sorry. Been a long day. It's like 10 p.m. here. I'm allowed to.
That's true.
So yes. Anyway, we are going to let Michelle go to Disney with her friends because they've been waiting so patiently. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, we will be here again in the next 2 weeks, most likely after Katsucon. If you have any questions for Michelle, just message her on her page. She's very nice and lovely. She's going to answer. And thank you for all the questions. I'm sorry for the one we didn't get to go through. I just felt like they're not really relevant. But yeah, just message her.
And my page, I'll answer them.
Yeah, she'll answer them. And yeah, that's it. Have a great day, evening, night, week, life, magic.
Year.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.